Today on the Videomaker podcast, Chris and I talk all about what's new in video news. So the big news this week is that Sony has a new camera out for vloggers called the ZV-1. It's pretty interesting. We have new firmware updates from Blackmagic. There is a new update for the Panasonic S1H, which does not have the ProRes RAW update we were all hoping for. Rokinon's got a new lens, and also LiveU has a new switching box. Also, as always, if you're watching this on YouTube or videomaker.com, thank you. But we would love it if you went to iTunes and gave us a 5-star review or hit the subscribe button. And same thing on Spotify, although I don't think they have the 5-star thing. But those kinds of things are great for new podcasts like us. And also, we're still running the survey, and we would love it if you took the survey. It's about a 1-minute survey in the description. And you can just tell us about how you heard about the podcast. So, enough with the announcements. Let's get on with the show. Welcome to the Videomaker podcast. I'm Mike Wilhelm, and with me, as always, to my right is Chris Monlux.
Hello. Did you hit the record button?
I did hit the record button. Oh, man. So embarrassing. Chris and I just started the podcast, and we were talking for, 5 minutes or so before I glanced down and saw, oh, that light is green and not red.
Yeah, it happens to us all. It's better to do it with friends than in front of an important client. So
yeah, exactly. And fortunately, actually, no one will get to hear this, but the air conditioner turned on partway through. We're starting with the air conditioner. So guess what? You get to start over.
You don't have to listen to the air conditioner.
Yeah, that's right. So actually, there's a number of news topics to discuss today. This is all about, just what's new in the news. We haven't done one of these in a month and a half or so since we talked about the stuff that was announced the week that NAB would normally have been. But before we get into that stuff, Chris, what have you been working on lately?
So I've been working on the visual storytelling course, and as many courses as we have, there's not one that really encompasses all of the stuff that we're covering in it, and it's a little different for me because it's causing me to action. I'm inspired to put the stuff I'm learning from it as I'm making it. And that is the process. When I make a course, a lot of times I know something well, but not to the point I can make a course about it. So I do research, and then we write, and then we put it all together. And sometimes, I do that, and I'm just happy to move on. The project's over, cool. I'm not always like, oh, I want to put this knowledge to task right now. But this has caused me to start at least an outline right now for a screenplay, a little coming to age story or whatnot, mostly from my own experiences. But I've not been so inspired before from making a course to put it in action. So I'm real excited, and it's also very robust. So I typically say that 3 words on the page equals 1 second on the screen. So I did a little rough estimate based on the length of all the scripts, and it was a little over 2 hours. And so far, I'm within 1% of those estimates when I finish the video, which is probably some of the best estimation I've ever made for the length of a video. But it's because we're talking over movie clips to give examples of, lots of course, Stanley Kubrick and some Spielberg and that kind of stuff. But Titanic, we have some stories from Titanic, and I watched it when I was a senior in high school, and it came out with my girlfriend, and it was fine. And I remember being like, that was a good movie. I was moved or whatever. But I've never really looked at it to learn from. So it's really cool to see a movie that I was like, meh, and be like, oh, but this and that, and I could take that kind of idea and do this with. So it's been kind of exciting. And then I've also been just editing. So I just adore being able to just go, I'm editing today. And then the next time I look up, it's day's over or it's lunchtime or whatever. And that's just really fun because, you get in a flow state, I think, is really the big thing. And it's if I can just keep on going, have nothing get in my way, not having a source for something or whatever, or not having the A-roll done or whatever for it, it's just cool to just be editing all day. And so it's been real fun. What about you? I know we were talking about with the homepage that you've been kind of jumping into.
Yeah. So I've just been giving a lot of thought to the homepage recently, videomaker.com, primarily because, I was just reflecting on a lot of the survey results we get about the site and about people who read the magazine and all that kind of thing. And, for the most part, the vast majority of people who visit Videomaker, who rely on Videomaker, rely on us for educational purposes. I don't know if it's the case with all of our podcast listeners. By the way, if you're listening to this podcast, please go take the survey in the description.
Yeah, right.
But you know, most people come to Videomaker for education, and yet if you go to the homepage, it's mostly just articles in chronological order. It's not optimized to teach people quickly. It's optimized to get people to, I guess, read the newest stuff. But I think that I have this hunch that people who come to the site are not looking necessarily for the newest stuff. They're looking to learn to make video, and they have a specific thing in mind they need to learn. They need to get to that topic, or they're just beginners. They need to jump in and sort of learn the ropes in a certain order. So just been giving thoughts to, like, maybe we should restructure this homepage. We obviously need a news section. We cover a lot of newsy topics that need to be presented chronologically. But we cover also a lot of evergreen techniques, and a chronological listing of them that is probably not the ideal way to help people learn, right? They just, when you need to learn how to make video or anything, that you need to learn the fundamentals, and then you move up from there into more advanced topics. You don't just go like, what's the newest thing that my teacher thought of?
Yeah, well, and not only that, but like so much of film and video is language that's already written, right? We're teaching things that have been around for a long time. So if we're talking in chronological order of the newest techniques and that kind of stuff, it's not going to be getting populated as often because there isn't new language being written as much.
Yeah.
And of course, for Videomaker, most people might get to Videomaker just through how to blank, and then you're going directly to the page, right? So it's got good SEO, search engine optimization, but that for someone that wants to just find a place and just start learning, like, that's exciting. I know for me, like, that's transformative when you find a site that you're like, oh, this has what I'm looking for. And for us, that has such a robust knowledge of what we have on Videomaker, it's like, well, yeah, we have all that stuff, but it's not terribly apparent by going to the homepage.
Yeah.
I mean, you can get to all that stuff, and we could guide you there, but we want people to be able to get there and be like, oh, stoke.
Yeah.
I have the next, month's worth of challenges just in all my rudimentaries here, or whatever way we end up presenting it. But
yeah. So I think we need to structure the page so that it, if you're a beginner, you get to the homepage and it's sort of a clear path on advancing your skills. If you're not a beginner, you're intermediate or advanced, and there's a specific thing you're looking for, we got to be able to help you get to that thing as fast as possible.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that the homepage is doing either of those things optimally right now. So at any rate, that's top of mind for me.
These are things that we're always thinking about, and it's funny because we're not specifically talking to the audience. We live in Little Chico, and the amount of people that know about Videomaker in town, percentage wise, is pretty small. But worldwide, lots of people. We could talk to lots of people, but we don't get that immediate feedback. So it's we're always trying to think of how to make things better. We're asking our survey. We're asking you guys, but we're always trying to make it better. Well, obviously for our own benefit, but also the good thing about what we're doing is if we're successful, you're successful. If we're making content that you guys want to read, cool. Then we can make ads from that. So it's money from the banners and all that kind of stuff, or whatever way the company makes money. It's from you guys visiting our site. So it's really nice when we can just make good content and you guys are able to get to it. And our biggest problem is just making sure everybody gets to it. So we have so many different strategies, from sharing it on social media to sending it to an email to highlighting something on the web page. I mean, just a few years ago, our site was very different. So we're trying to always optimize that for the best outcome for people to enjoy, right?
Yeah. The last thing we got to consider is, there's people who turn to us for news, people who turn to us for education, but there's also the buying decisions, so buyer's guides and reviews. So we got to figure out a way to weave that in. Our new strategy for this is not as rapid. So the idea is to help people to find the best products in a certain category, less so about reviewing every single product as a full article, because frankly the market for people who want to read a review of a very obscure microphone, for example, is pretty small, but the market for people who want to find the best microphone for voiceovers is pretty big.
Yeah,
So,
and you know, the cool thing is too is, and as I write a lot of the reviews, or most of them, you know, you want to give advice on how to buy something, but sometimes it's more general knowledge, and it feels weird to include it in a specific review. You know, like how to buy a camera. I can be giving the same tips in every single review, or we can make a buyer's guide that not only guides you to our choices in each section, but all of the tools you need to be able to make your own choice outside of our list. And I've been really proud of our buyer's guides. They're just really good, fun reads. And if you want to be, if you want to know how to get the best gear, we have a buyer's guide that's going to guide you there, if not tell you exactly what to buy. And that's pretty rad.
And soon, when I say soon, I'm hoping like next week, the buyer's guides will also help you price compare between retailers.
That's pretty cool. I'm always tired of, you know, currently this camera is this price, but it's probably on sale, because, you know, we always have to talk MSRP because prices do change all the time. And then some manufacturers, of course, the price never changes, but other ones, it fluctuates all over the place.
Yeah, our new tool will be real time. So as soon as B&H updates it, boom, it's going to be live on the site. As soon as Amazon updates theirs, it'll be live on the site.
That's great.
I'm pretty excited about it.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe we should get to the news, eh?
Yeah, let's jump in. So first thing first is the new Sony ZV-1.
Yeah, that's hard to say, isn't it?
ZV-1.
VZ?
It's even harder if you're from Europe or Canada. The ZV-1. Yeah, when they were presenting it, they did. Eldine, the guy that worked for Sony, that was telling us, he says, I couldn't use Zed. Zed just didn't feel right. And he's from South Africa, so definitely...
it's easier to say ZV-1 if you ask me, though.
ZV-1, yeah. Maybe it'll...
ZV?
It reminds me of the Nikon Z or Z1 or Z6 and that kind of thing. And that when I heard the announcement, I was in Japan, and it was Z to everyone. Yeah. And I'm like, no, that's a Z. What's a Z?
I didn't know about Z. That's how, you know, people outside of America said that letter until like I was 30 years old or something.
Totally. Yeah. Well, I think I might have been like the first time I ran into somebody that was. It would have been high school for me, because I had a girlfriend that was Australian. But that, like, outside of that, I had no one outside of America.
The other one that I hear it sometimes and not other times is H.
H, yeah. I actually really like the different car words. So like bonnet and windscreen and aluminium, those kinds of. But those are more British. Yeah. Anyway.
Anyways, the camera.
It's super good tangent there, but the Sony ZV-1. So. Think of it as the RX100 Mark IV, I think, but with like all of the really rich photo features out of it, so it can be cheaper, and really a specifically focused camera that's for vloggers.
And so, just for clarification, the camera you just mentioned, the RX100, is like Sony's flagship point-and-shoot camera, fixed lens, tiny camera. You know, fit in your pocket, kind of.
Yeah, but like shoots 4K. In fact, they shoot up to 960 frames in bursts. I mean, lots of really rich features. 1-inch sensor. You know, the 4 and the 5. I think the difference is just how long the built-in lens is. But the big thing about most Sonys is, or up to this point, the rear screen just tilts. And so if you wanted to shoot yourself like a vlog, tough. You know, they might flip up, but this one actually is fully articulating, so you can shoot and see yourself. They're calling it the content creator camera. I have to believe that, you know, that's, but it's still, you know, it's a small sensor, but the lens is built for you to have, I think 24-70 as a field of view at 2.8. Which I think that's right.
Their YouTube channel, they've got a video up about it. They're calling it a vlog camera.
Vlog camera. Let's see here with a so it's 24-70 1.8 to 2.8, which I don't know, I just shoot 2.8 all the time because quite frankly
1.8 is pretty small.
And it would just be easier. I'd probably be at 4 wide, honestly. But you know, the small sensor is pretty, you know, good low light sensitivity as far as when it was RX100. We haven't gotten our hands on it yet. Would like to get one soon, but that they also have the grip for them that they first showed us for the RXO Mark II. And it's like a little grip that you can connect to control the zoom and the record function from the handle of the actual grip. Ours, because they are plastic, and that's the other thing about this, is not as like water resistant. Typically video shooters aren't going to be like, it's raining, let's keep shooting. Whereas I think that's far more typical to be like, I'm going to keep going taking photos and just take it out when I need to take a picture. But for shooting video, most people get really concerned really quickly. So this isn't super water sealed or anything like that. They did a lot of things to lower the price. But the grip we had was it fell apart after a little while, so it's kind of a bummer. But it kind of tilts it and whatnot. The other cool thing is they have a hot shoe mic that they announced last year that has 5 capsules in it, and all together those capsules work and cancel out each other, so you can get you can change the directions of the mic, so you can have different pickup patterns, and make from super hypercardioid all the way to omni. And those are all going to be helpful depending on the situation you're in. This camera, instead of having like a pop-up flash, because it's not focused on photos, it has a microphone, and so that microphone is meant to make it so you don't have to buy your Rode video mic, whatever, to mount on here. It's already there, and they're expecting you to shoot close to yourself, so the proximity for those is always, that's the application where those work well anyway. The Rode video mic Pro Plus, NTG 5, whatever you want to, there's all sorts of them out there that, they're really not that great if your subject matter is not very close, unless you're doing like live sound or something like that, where there's a lot of sound. Otherwise, you're just going to hear the room a lot. Just like in here, we're talking very closely to the microphone, so it sounds better. I'm pretty excited about it, being that like, I was excited when computer companies first started saying, we're making content creator computers. And this is, I think, one of the first cameras of like, we're doing this, we're going after someone that wants to do this specifically. And it has all the other features in it that you would otherwise, your time lapse. And I think you can still take photos and everything. Yeah, it can shoot up to 960 frames per second, which quite frankly, most things are way too slow to shoot at that. Like watching someone take their glasses off is going to take 40 seconds if you shot them for 2 seconds. Yeah, that's
like water balloon popping.
Yeah, or like right? Fire, or like trying to see a bird flap like one revolution in a it's way too fast. And it's cool because they have start or end trigger, so like you could be watching something and actually have a button to say, oh, I saw it, and it ends. Like if you watch any like slow-mo guys or anybody using a Phantaflex, it's always post trigger. It's not record, hope it happens in the time they have. Yeah. It's like stop. Okay, we got the 4 seconds before I said stop.
Right.
And so it's pretty neat. What's the price? It's like $800.
It's $750 right now, and then apparently after June 28th, it's going to be $800. Yeah. I really like this idea of take a great camera that's a still and video camera like the RX100 and take out all of the crazy photo features and make it cheaper. Like for video shooters who are not that interested in photos, like this is great.
I think of every single camera I've used that's not a dedicated video camera. I probably have never used them to the extent of it being worth paying more for it to take stills.
Yeah, if you think about this in reverse, right? Like you could say, oh, I don't want to lose those still photos. Well, people generally have a bias towards keeping the things that they have, like they don't want to lose it. But if you're thinking about it from a new buyer perspective, if you're into video, ask yourself, are you willing to pay an extra $300 for the photo features? Like that's what it's going to be, right? To go from this to the RX100, whatever the new version is.
Or it might even be like $500.
Yeah, so something like crazy,
$1,200, right? Something like that, yeah.
So you could say the same thing about the Nikon Z6, right? Like, what if that was $500 cheaper?
Yeah, I think of every camera. Like, crap, the GH5, take out those photos features.
Yeah,
like,
exactly,
I wasn't going to use them anyway. It's a small sensor. We're good.
I mean, it's fun to have it once it's there. It's in your hands, but
this is going to be able to take pictures, but it's just not going to have all the advanced features. I go on a lot of the trips with especially Sony to try out new cameras, and I'm always like, cool. I love that camera has animal eye tracking in photo only. I'm so going to use that. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy that you have this amazing technology that I can never use. You know, it's like, well, the eye tracking's better now in video. Cool. I'm excited about that. But it's really just a tease to show me all these cool features that I can't use in video. And I love the idea that they're going, okay, the form factor, it's so much has been like, this form factor is for shooting photos. And I think GH4, GH5, those cameras went, no, we're actually really video first, but we're a video and photo camera. Whereas this one's like, we're pretty much video and we have some photo features, kind of, if you want, And I mean, I don't know what the other photo features are, but enough that they didn't really mention any of it in the briefing they did with us. But I'm super excited about it. I think, is it going to be a beautiful camera? I don't know, but I'm excited for video creators that have been looking for a solution, and now it's cheaper because you're not buying into the photo features you didn't need.
Yeah, I mean, this is not a camera for people who want like the most gorgeous image available, right? This is for vloggers who want a selfie camera. It's
for getting a job done. It's for a workflow specifically,
right?
But I mean, I don't know. I've told Sony this. I remember being like, I want the A7S II sensor in a video camera, and it's like, well, quite frankly, the A7S anything is a crappy photo camera because it's so slow and so low megapixel. It's like, just take those out. Don't make me pay for them. I love that idea. I mean, how is Blackmagic able to make their cameras more affordable? There's no photo features in them at all, and no one else is taking that that line. So it's really great that they can do that. Hopefully they'll do it more. I'm not sure, but I think this is very specific because they've been getting dinged so many times. They'd release another A60 something hundred, and the screen would still not flip, and people are like, "Oh, I'm still going to say that the Canon Rebel line, even though it shot at the time only HD, is a better camera because it's got a flip out screen." It was like waiting for that flip out screen, and now it's like, okay.
Well, Sony didn't they have one where the screen would flip straight up?
Yeah, the A6600, A6400, or down. See, the Z50 is down.
Oh, yeah, it was kind of a pain, right? That the Z50 flips down and, put it on a tripod.
And then for the A66 and A6400, it flips up. But if you have any kind of microphone on it, you're done. So you then have to get like a shoe-mounted or a bottom-mounted shoe mount for the side of your camera if you want to use a microphone, which is fine. Honestly, if you're not rigging your camera for the work you're doing, you're probably losing some capability out of your camera. Specifically if you're doing the same kind of work all the time, might as well make that machine work the best it can for that task.
Yep. So I'm pretty excited about this camera. I think I don't know if they're going to sell a ton of them, but I think it's going to be great for vloggers.
Well, the thing is like camcorders haven't been hot for a long time.
Yep.
And I mean, I remember being excited about a camcorder, but it was like because it had a handle on the top and it looked like I was filming skate videos all the time.
You know what the sad thing is? Maybe it's not sad. This is a camcorder, kind of, right? Like
pretty much.
It's got the form factor of a little point and shoot still camera.
Yep.
If it sells more because it's got that form factor, I'll be amazed. But frankly, a lot of the handheld camcorders are fine cameras for vloggers, and I think actually they've been using them for a while. So I don't know. I don't really get the form factor thing here.
I think that the idea of it doesn't look like a camcorder because the camcorder, it, especially to a younger generation, says this is old.
I think that's
camera.
over, Chris.
Really?
I think young people now who are vlogging, they're too young to remember the fact that those camcorders have gone out of style,
Yeah.
Like, do they care?
I don't know. I don't know. That's a good question. I guess I'm an old guy now, so what do I know?
Think about when the 5D Mark II came out. 12 years ago.
Yeah, that's true.
That's when those football cameras started to go out of style, and people who are vlogging now, they don't remember 2008 and the cameras that were popular then.
Well, and the funny thing is, until 5 years ago, I was bringing a camcorder out to shoots so the client would think we're using professional equipment.
Yeah.
Which was totally like, no, we abandoned this camera 8 years ago.
Yeah.
But we used it to record audio because it's digital audio and we don't want to buy another recorder.
Yeah.
You're totally right. It's just a camcorder in a new form factor, but don't tell anyone that.
Oh, you know what? Actually, the camcorder would have been better off because it has those massive batteries.
It's true. Or at least different size battery options.
Yeah.
But no record limit on it, just like all the new Sony cameras.
It's a camcorder.
It is a camcorder, but I think Sony's just been like, we'll pay the tax. Like,
yeah, maybe.
I think that's just what it is. And what I've noticed a lot more is the cost in Canada for stuff. It used to be, like 15%. They're paying 25, 30% more for things now. And I'm not really sure what the reasoning for that is, but that's the most apparent cost. I think it's because they always tie that with USA, and they never tell us the European price because we're in the US market, but we might be talking to some Canadians or something.
Yeah. I don't know. That's outside of my area of expertise, how that whole stuff works.
Yeah.
Okay, so next piece of news, Blackmagic came out with an update for the Ursa Mini Pro 4K, which is... I don't know. There's not a lot super exciting here, except for that there's some 3D LUTs, I guess, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is a camera that was released a year and a half ago, or more, maybe 2 years ago. Yeah, because I think it was 2 years ago. Because last year would have been the Pocket Cinema 6K.
Yep.
And I think the 4K and the 4.6 came in at the same time. And these are neat inputs. I'm glad they did them. If you have one, it's great to know these new features and to get updated. I know for me around here, we don't, unless I hear of an update and I read the list and go, oh, I could benefit from feature 7. Don't update the cameras too often.
Yeah.
And that can be a problem sometimes. So like if you're trying to use a new lens or something else like that, but like if the camera's doing the job, it's not really a lot of times you just overlook them, one or two. And there's some good things in here, customizable guides.
Third stop ISO increments. That's not bad.
So they just have
instead of
more
from
options
400 to 600. There's some stuff in between.
Okay. I mean,
sometimes you just need to like nudge it a little bit,
Yeah, that's true. That's good. It probably should have been there in the first place. Like that's the problem with a lot of Blackmagic stuff. Like they came out with the Ursa Mini Pro that had like NDs and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, yeah, those last ones needed it too. Like you're just all of a sudden making a new version with it, and that's great. I wouldn't want to all the knobs and dials and stuff or what everybody was asking for, but this is a short list. I imagine if you speak one of the 11 languages now, it accepts, and it didn't before. You're elated.
Yeah, that's
because now you could use the camera, or you don't have to learn English to use it.
Okay, so maybe there's not much more to talk about on that one, other than if you have this camera, go get the update, I guess.
Yeah,
it's a good camera. Do we still have ours?
We have the Blackmagic.
Not the 4.6.
It's the original 4K Mini, and this is the 4K 4.6K
Mini
G2, Pro. I think, right?
If it is, they dropped the G2.
Yeah, I don't remember what the difference is between G1 and G2, but I think I think the biggest difference was Blackmagic RAW. And maybe they're still offering it for everything, but regardless, let's move on.
Okay, I'm excited about the next one because I'm going to use a sound effect when I...
Yeah.
Okay, so ProRes RAW has been... there's an update that's supposed to come out for the Panasonic Lumix S1H, and it has been delayed. Sorry, everyone. I got these 8 buttons in front of me, all the sound effects, and we've like never used them.
It was because we don't really know what they're on. We were hoping that there'd be like a boo or something like that, but the sad horn's fine.
I'm by the way, when we were talking about the last thing, I've just been listening to the words that you say, thinking about I'm gonna listen for something that Chris says that sounds funny, and we can turn it into a sound effect. I think the one to do is, you said, cool, like very sarcastically. I'll cut that out and put it on this thing.
Nice. So I really like the S1H. It's a really cool camera. I'm excited because it shoots 6K, but if you're shooting 6K, you can shoot anamorphic on it because it's actually not, it's a square or a rectangle, not as, it's not 16 by 9. So you can really take advantage of that extra resolution. But it's the RAW, it's going to be 12-bit RAW out the S1H to just a Ninja 5, I think. Ninja 5, and I'm not sure if it's Atomos. I think it's Atomos. It's the that has delayed it, right? It's not or 5.9K. I'm sorry, not 6K. But maybe it is Panasonic.
They're still releasing the version 2 firmware, just not with this feature.
Yeah. Well, at least you're not having to pay for the update. I've actually really been happy with the camera. It's funny, is during quarantine I had the S1H, I had the Canon 1DX Mark III, and I had the Nikon Z6 as cameras to go to shoot with. And after the Canon 1DX Mark III is a fine camera, except for the new media. Makes it somewhat difficult to pull the data off because we don't have a media card reader, so it actually takes a long time to pull video off of the camera, and then you can't use the camera in the interim, and it doesn't charge while you're doing that, so you're actually killing battery. So for all those reasons, I was like, this isn't really what I want to use. Plus, it was very, very large files because the Canon RAW Lite. But I really love the Z6, but the S1H. I was drawn to it, and it was just getting me exactly what I wanted without a whole lot of work. When I stopped shooting it in RAW, everything just looked really nice. I was able to get, it doesn't have a real low noise floor, so I was able to crank the ISO without having a whole lot of issues. The kit lens, a 24-105 f4, is really sharp and works really well. And then I just like that because it's got this bigger sensor, you can crop a bunch of different ways. So for me, I'm producing in 4K, so I can do a Super 35 4K crop with that camera, or I could do a full frame one. And so now that 24-105 has even further reach because of the crop factor, which is really nice. But that's true for almost all mirrorless cameras now, except for Canon.
So our main camera here in the studio is the C200, this one that is shooting me right now.
Yep.
Is that the S1H over there?
No, it's just the S1.
It's now like 15 feet away, so I can't quite see.
That's the S1. Yeah. If you watched our last video, I had like no shout up the field or anything, and I am literally on the background. Mike's got like 6 feet between him and the background, and to get it so I have just a little bit of shallower depth of field, I'm actually shooting on 150 millimeter on a full frame, so the camera's like literally like 20 feet away from me. But it's the S1, and the S1 is the low light monster. It's like there's no noise. You crank it wherever you want, and it's just fine. I think it performs better than any other in that way. But it's a big, just like any of the Panasonic S line. They're all big cameras. They're bigger than DSLRs, so it's not really necessarily the funnest camera to just lug around and do stuff with. But I'm shooting off of a tripod or a slider.
Do we still have the S1H?
Yep.
So we're going to swap out the C200, do you think, as the main camera?
No, the reason why is I shoot a lot of times with a shotgun mic, and I use
you need the XLR
input. I mean, I could use an adapter or something else, but it allows me to do that and to have two input gains, which I use a lot and is really helpful because I can do as hot as I think it needs to be and then quieter. And I almost always use my hottest input, but every once in a while, especially me, I'll get loud, and it's just so great to have the same exact thing, just 6 dB quieter.
That feature is more important to you than the ProRes RAW.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not even using RAW on the C200. I'm shooting.
That's because maybe partially because the codec isn't as good, right?
Yeah,
I mean, ProRes is pretty nice.
ProRes is pretty nice, but the files are huge, and that's really what I'm fighting right now. Is I have a lot of data and I've been moving it around, and I don't want to have I kind of think I need to do something a little lighter, so I am not chasing the I'm running out of space problem, and as well, if it's not necessary, why am I shooting RAW? It just seems like it might be more work, and my computer gets mad at me if I'm, the 10-bit HVAC is the worst. Like I can't on my $10,000 iMac play 2 streams of it, have them stacked, like stacking 2 clips. Just I won't see real time. No way, not even in 10-bit 4K. So yeah, ProRes is better. Canon Raw Light plays pretty well, but then every once in a while it'll just get stuck, and then I won't see like a frame every 5 seconds. I think it's just the efficiency of them all. But biggest thing is do you need it? And I was doing it because I could, and
now you're paying the price.
Yeah, and I've just gotten to the point where I could, but why? I'm just gonna add a LUT to it. I'm just gonna put this 4K down to 1080 anyway to produce whatever, or sometimes I use it when it's necessary, or like in the time where I'm shooting something, I'm like, I don't know, I need more dynamic range than this. I'll shoot that shot, so I'll have it and be able to do something. But just to have it on as default, I just don't know if it's necessary for the work I do. I think if you're doing more narrative work or doing stuff that color, dynamics is really necessary, and of course the color. But you're getting way more dynamic range with any higher bit depth.
All right, well, maybe we should pause there, take a quick break, and we'll be right back. For years, Videomaker has been producing quality video training to help you take your video skills to the next level. Now you can access it all from a Videomaker Plus account. We've got courses covering everything from learning how to navigate your camera with our course on camera controls and settings, to learning about color grading, or even how to start a video business. Videomaker Plus has something for you. The Videomaker library is split into 4 levels. If you're just starting, try our inexpensive starter level membership, which gets you access to essential video training and a digital subscription to Videomaker Magazine. For the most professional training, go all the way up to our professional tier membership, which gives you access to our entire library of training, which covers advanced concepts like running a video business or becoming a documentary filmmaker. Plus, the professional tier is the only membership with access to our popular webinar recordings. Plus, right now, for a limited time, you can get the professional tier of Videomaker Plus for the price of the creative tier. That's $100 savings. Sign up at videomaker.com/spring deal. That's videomaker.com/spring deal. Okay, we're back. Let's see a few more pieces of news this week than most. Third, fourth, I don't know, whatever rank we're on. One of the more exciting ones is the LiveU, the LU800, which is a field level production unit. So LiveU is made famous by their device that is kind of made for IRL streamers. So it's battery powered. You walk around with it on the street. Right. Yeah. Well, and the special thing about it, because you could do that with a lot of different things, is there's redundancy. So they have you could put multiple SIM cards in it, or from different brands or whatever. It's trying to give you so you can have this live stream without interruptions. You can get into places. So if you're in an AT&T area and you have Sprint, whatever it is that you're able to do that. But this one, I think it can hold 8 different SIM cards. It also has Ethernet ports, but what it is it's a live switcher that also broadcasts wirelessly without internet. So, and you can do up to 4K 60 in HDR. Wirelessly without internet, as in not Wi-Fi, but you do need a mobile. You're doing it through cell. And the big catch, of course, is it's all 5G. And I'm not sure we have any real 5G in the U.S. at all. Yeah, also 8 SIM cards means 8 mobile plans. Yeah, well, so, I know who this is for. This is for the broadcast station that's wanting to do a live, and they normally would have bought a van, the microwave, all this kind of stuff. And this is if you have a camera with an SDI out, you can do a live event and stream from it. Without, I think, so we're using the Sling Studio switch, or Sling Studio, not the switch, Sling Studio. Sling Studio. And it's great, but you need network. So, if you need internet, you get internet from a network, and that's not always feasible. You might not have access to the network, or might not have good internet, or what have you. And so I think there's a lot of times where that's just not beneficial.
I'm not sure if this is something that's I mean, this would be a great thing for weddings. I know so many weddings are remote or, on some kind of ranch or somewhere out. So like doing a live stream of a wedding might be somewhat difficult. But they have their pictures like on a tennis court. Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
So this has to be expensive, right?
It's got to be, yeah. Well, so it's available now, but has not released the price.
Yeah, so it's expensive when they say contact us.
Contact us. Although that is kind of a business model sometimes too. Is like they just don't want the riffraff.
Yeah.
So they just. But I kind of think it invites people to call. How much is it? X. Oh, buy.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that would be my reaction. Like, oh. Geez, okay.
So if you go to their website for the product page, there's like a photograph of the device and the interface, that's sort of on the outside. And it's a 4-camera setup, and it's like Fox News. Yeah. Like, really, is Fox News doing their, broadcasts from their studios using one of these things? Probably not, but maybe that's indicative of, the level of production that they tend to, that they're hoping to capture with this.
Yeah, well, I think so. I think you're talking about being able. I mean, I could think of the coverage of the protests and that kind of thing. They have right now they're doing usually like live backpacks, and it's one camera angle or whatever. But how cool would it be if you were able? But this isn't wireless, so you'd have to have cables everywhere. But it'd be great to be able to broadcast from a place with multiple angles. I mean, this is what used to take a big vehicle and many people to obtain, and someone to retrieve the signal and to send the signal, whereas this is like one go. But yeah, it seems that with that many SIM cards, you're thinking 8 plans. If you want to be, I mean, the cool thing is you could probably grab have a plan from every single brand, and I would probably say, at least in the United States, it's likely amongst all of the brands you would not find places that didn't have coverage.
Yeah, probably.
Hopefully. I imagine, I don't know, there's probably some places in Idaho or Montana that are just nowhere that...
Well, yeah, even in California, if you head up into the mountains and hike into a logging road or something.
Yeah, exactly. You might not find it. But I actually have been very surprised being out nowhere in California just because of the coverage. But like, when there isn't anything between the two, there's no triangulation because the biggest cities hundreds of miles away, then you got issues.
So I've been given some thought to this idea, and I wrote an article about it for Creator Handbook that the live video culture that has been accelerated during the pandemic is going to stick around, right? People aren't going to dial back their use of live video now that they've ramped up. And part of that comes along with the fact that over the last 10 years or so, live video has become easier and easier to do on your own. Yeah. The easiest, obviously, is like Facebook Live. You press a button and you're live. But the next step beyond that is easy multi-camera. And I think this is just another step in that direction where you just get like a single thing, you plug some cameras into it, and you're off to the races. Another example of this is the Sling Studio here. Super, super easy to do, multi-camera live. I think it's going to get even easier, but this is just another move in that direction.
Well, and it's interesting coming from like television where you're typically you're not limited to a small amount of inputs. 4 inputs is and if 4 is all you get, it seems very limiting. But then again, it's like, well, 4. What do you need? What do you really need more than that for? And of course, it comes down to like what you're actually shooting. But like, it's neat that they're going, okay, well, we'll just make these very compact and limited tools, but they'll work rock solid and they'll, be easy to operate. Like a touch interface is just super nice. You don't need a lot of really nice things. And like for us, we're able to use whatever camera we want. And that's really cool because, before you'd have to have ones that all, had a time sync together and
right.
They've answered a lot of that. And I think that's also just, with all of this, we've also becoming a lot more forgiving to technical issues. Watching anything, we're seeing commercials where the actor shot it themselves and said something and sent it away, and there's just lots of ways that are doing this, and I know right now, man, I bet you Sony wishes they had a lot of these ZV-1s, because they're supposed to, not completely when they release them, but they're supposed to be able to use the webcam protocol just with the USB port going right into the computer.
Yeah, that's got to be a more and more common thing.
I mean, it's so needed right now because, you're seeing so many guests on like news and all that kind of thing. It's like of course the anchor looks close to as good as they do. I definitely know they're standing in front of a TV, and you can usually tell that they don't have a rim light. I'm like, oh, okay, they just got an even lighting, and that was good enough. But the studios were definitely one step further. But the need is there, and it seems that there's a willingness. And I guess amongst all this, you're either going to be willing or you're not. There's not really a lot of flexibility. You're either going to shoot it on your phone or you're not going to shoot it for a lot of these things. But I think it will be. I think once we get back to normal, as far as being able to, a lot of the knowledge that people experienced, they'll be able to go, oh, like what's this app that I recently got? My buddy sent me, Marco Polo. Have you ever heard of it?
Let's see. I've heard of the historical figure.
Yeah.
I've heard of the swimming pool game.
Yeah, so this is the same idea as the swimming pool game. It's the idea of text, but instead of texting, you just talk to your phone and send it to them. So it's like doing a bunch of video recordings back and forth, but the timeline is just your whole conversation, like it would be for Snapchat or anything else like that. But it's just that. It has some filters and stuff like that. It's kind of gimmicky. I'm not sure if it's really going to do anything, but you're seeing application of video in newer ways, just because it's like, oh, well, I can connect this and this, or you're getting ideas of how things are going to work. The guy that's running the stream is not going to be able to be like, no, I can't have 5 guests on at once. It's like, I had 16 on my Zoom call last week. What are you telling me that?
Yeah.
So, but the hard thing, of course, is the technology of Zoom is very difficult to do if you're doing it, in any way other than on web cameras. It's just really interesting how strangely complex it would be if it wasn't all just in software. So that's, I think, the big thing we're going to see is just a lot of interfaces and be able to do stuff with computers. It'd be great to have a switcher on your phone.
Yeah, I was going to say, how long before we see a device that connects to your iPhone or your Android phone just via its charging port, whether that's USB-C or Lightning or whatever, that's like, basically a little capture device that you could just connect outside external video sources in and then switch with an app.
Well, so the Sling, right? You can do that, all that stuff. You can make your phones cameras, and without wires and stuff.
Yeah, but what do you need this for?
But you still need that. Yeah, and it's like it would be great to have maybe a computer that's hubbing it, but it's a wireless hub, so there is a certain amount of wireless that's going to it.
But everything now is shrunk down for phones, right? Like all these interfaces shrink way down. You see a lot of I don't want to say a lot, but a few, audio mixers that are for phones, and they're like, the size of 2 decks of playing cards, like, you don't need a computer for this stuff. I don't know. I'm not an engineer, but it seems like your phone is a pretty powerful computer, right? And we just don't have the interface to connect multiple inputs. I think that there are apps that will do this wirelessly between phones. Like you can bring in other phones and maybe switch between those. I got to look that up, actually. I might be making it up.
Or just use the internet. You know what I mean? Like, or a Zoom call. You know what I mean? Like if you want different angles,
for sure.
You could just switch between. So I think that there's that. Like if everybody's going to the internet and then you're just controlling an interface that controls the hub that's actually on the internet on a server somewhere. But latency is the big gap on all of this stuff, is dealing with latency and people's. I think that people are willing to accept more latency right now, but when there's not a easy excuse for it, they're not going to accept it at all.
Okay, imagine you're shooting your kid's soccer game. I'm just using this because it's such a cliche, but shooting your kid's soccer game, and your phone is the switching device that switches between all the other parents' phones that are shooting simultaneously. Like everyone's shooting video of their kids at the soccer game, right? Like why can't you have one that all these video feeds are feeding together into a single device and you're streaming that live?
What would be one step further is all they do is put a hashtag on it, and it's going to a site, and then everybody can make their own cut from all of the different ones, and then they sync everybody's time code. So even if you recorded for your guy's goal, there could be 5 covers of just that goal. Who knows, or the different cameras around there.
Let's go one step further, because I feel like we have made these predictions over the last 20 years about these types of things, and in the end, what it ends up being is artificial intelligence making those choices, so you don't even have to think about it.
Yeah.
Like, why doesn't the phone know that the goal is the important part and just cut to the best shot of the goal being shot?
Yeah, or, I mean, even down to the point of communication companies sending satellites into the sky so that they can be another angle on your soccer game. You know what I mean? Like,
well, actually, that's pretty scary, right? Like, if they can see your soccer game, they can see anything.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure that's already available, Mike. The government just has the control. At least if
it's a satellite, you can carry a parasol and hide from them, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, I mean, it just reminds me of like every time they. What was I watching? Oh, Space Force. Have you seen Space Force yet?
No, but I heard it's pretty funny.
It's really great. But there's a situation where video's on and they're trying to understand, see something, and Steve Carell goes, "Enhance!" And they're like, you can't put information there where it's not. This isn't a movie. And he looked at him like, yes, it is. This isn't a TV show.
Yeah, fourth wall.
Yeah, exactly. But it was, I'm like, I can't watch CSI or those shows because it's just like, oh, really?
Well, they had to drop that, right? That whole enhanced thing. After one, it became a meme online. But secondly, after so many people have had their hands in Photoshop now, like everyone knows that's bull,
Yeah, well, I don't know. I still think people call for it and be like, oh, come on.
Where's the enhanced scene?
Where's the enhanced? Well, it wasn't in focus. It wasn't in focus.
How about one more news story?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Rokinon 85mm 1.4. Full frame telephoto, 85 millimeter. Is that really a telephoto lens? You think?
Oh yeah,
I think that's normal. I think it's the top range of normal, isn't it?
No, I'd say top range of normal is like 55.
Okay.
85
even for a full frame.
Yeah. I don't say only for full frame.
You wrote the course on this. So.
Yeah, 85. I think 85 is one of my favorite portrait lenses, as far as a fixed focal length. 105 is just a little bit too much for me, and I really like 85 as a focal length on a full frame. This is, I really like the G Master from Sony, and it's a 85 f4.14, I believe as well. And I'm sure it's a lot more money than this. This is $800. Let's look up B&H. B&H says the 85 G Master. 85 minute G Master. Let's see if I can do this quickly. Oh,
we need the for our soundboard here. We need the Jeopardy theme for like when we're waiting for something to happen.
So the Sony FE85 f1.4 G Master is $1,800.
Well, this is really Rokinon's thing, right?
Totally. Well, and not only that, this is Sony, so we'd have to look at Canon because this is an EF lens.
So the Rokinon 85 1.4 is $800.
So 85. So the Canon FE 1.4 f1.4 is $1,500. So that's more. That makes more sense as far as comparatively. But I don't know. I've not shot a lot of Rokinon. Definitely not as much as like say Sigma as far as a third party. And what a Rokinon, and they have a sister company, Samyang.
Samyang, yeah.
Samyang that makes pretty much, you'll be able to find the same lens. It just depends on the market of which it's branded on.
Yep.
I think that's more, if you're in Asia, it's probably called Samyang. And then of course there's Zine and that which is the cinema lenses and everything. But and I like the cinema lenses. Those were relatively affordable for nice quality. And I'm sure this thing's solid. Affordable. It's so hard when you're comparing lenses, especially if the specs are all the same. So then you're like, okay, is it the quality of the glass? Is it the color? Is it you just want to be able to shoot through them, and for that, I recommend, especially if you're struggling on what lens to get, just rent them.
I was just going to actually check to see if it's on lens rentals.
I imagine it's not yet, unless it's available. looks like it's out in June, so it won't be available. Well, it's June.
Maybe they have the is it pre-ordering a rental thing?
It is, I think, actually, because I remember when we wanted to get the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema, they had it rented out for like 4 months, and we couldn't get it yet because people had signed up to rent it, but then they were waiting for it to come.
Here we go, Rokinon 85 millimeter f1.4 for Canon autofocus.
What's the weekly rental?
It's $60.
So I mean, given $60 is almost 10% of this lens, it's
totally, yeah,
it's 8% or something like that. But like, if you're investing in something you want to keep around, I mean, crap, rent it for 2 days. The cool thing about every time I've rented from Lens Rentals, like we get it and then I don't return it until the very last shipment on the day it's leaving.
Drive it down to the airport right before
exactly. And they're not, I've never had a thing, even though you get the notification like 4 days later that it came in, never saying it was late.
Yeah.
Because I think they probably tracked it knowing it got checked in. But
the problem with those short-term rentals is you pay for the shipping, so you want to, it's cheaper per day if you extend that out.
Yeah, or maybe just rent the two you're trying to choose between, that kind of thing.
Oh, there you go. Or if they ship them in the same box.
They probably put them in a case together. Lens Rentals does a lot, or at least Lens Rentals specifically, does a lot to package their stuff really well. Like all their boxes are exactly the same size as the hard cases they use. So
that's right. Yeah.
And everything goes into a hard case, gets shipped, even though it's heavier. I'm sure it's just way less liability for them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd love to see this. It looks just like the 85 G Master. Though, if you're adapting this for mirrorless, it would be another, 1.5 to 2 inches longer.
Well, I guess we should try to get one.
Yeah. I have their 50 millimeter Cine Cine DS lens, EF mount that I've been playing with a little bit, and I'm not a huge fan of it. It seems like it's just a kind of a chintzy photo lens with hard focus stops and an aperture ring. Not necessarily anything special about the actual image. Plus, they're very small for cinema lenses. Like half like most all Cine glass seems so robust, and then there's this little pinner lens calling itself a Cine lens. But this is surely a big lens. The one thing I don't like about these big barrel lenses is usually it'll mess with your tripod plate for video shooters, or your video tripod plate. Of course, the small little cleat that you use for shooting photos won't get in the way, but our longer universal plates, even the short ones, tend to get in the way of that little lip, and so you end up having it mount it either backwards or some kind of strangey thing.
Yeah, always a pain.
Yeah.
All right. Maybe we'll call that a show, eh?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Boy, I wish we had another sound effect to play us out, but...
Which one are you going to do? Okay. I thought you were going to do the wah, 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 but...
Not quite.
Yeah, the cheer.
Yeah, so that's our project, I guess. Between now and next week, we got to see if we can find a few more sound effects. We got cool. I think cool is gonna work out.
If you have any suggestions, let us know, because why not?
Yeah, exactly. I really want a boo still. I want a golf clap.
It would be great to have like an announcer, and Jimmy Fallon, that kind of thing, and then applause and like a live band sounding. But then it's just us in a room by ourselves.
We know some pretty good voiceover people, right? Who could give us a full-on intro.
Yeah, totally. Or I'll just morph mine into a low voice, so it's and I'll do this. So it looks like I'm doing it, and introduce ourselves. I've been watching Ben Folds. He does a live show every weekend, and he introduces himself, but he's not quite out of frame. And you could tell. And then he reaches in and hits spacebar on the computer to play his intro song, and then you could hear him walking around the camera, and then walking in, and he changes his jacket and his shoes like he's Mr. Rogers. And I'm like, okay, if you're by yourself, you got to have a little bit of show business in there.
That's one of the just marvelous things about the world we live in right now with Twitch and all that is is seeing celebrities like do these things themselves out of their homes or their studios or whatever. And
yeah, he repeats it. He's like, I'm not really an engineer, and I just think it's so funny. The guy's probably been doing it long enough that he's not needed to engineer stuff, whereas musicians these days, that's kind of how you get it done. But it's just kind of funny. I'm like, man, I would love to. I'm not a lighting guy. Let's get the lighting guy in here,
Yeah, right. That'd be nice.
Fantastic, yeah.
Okay, so we'll call it there, eh?
Sounds good.
All right, thanks everyone for watching and listening.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Thanks everyone for listening. Again, as always, we would love it if you went over to iTunes and gave us a 5-star review and hit that subscribe button. It'll deliver the podcast right to your mobile device. It is super helpful to us and super convenient for you. So for Chris Monlux and everyone here at Videomaker, I'm Mike Wilhelm, and you've been listening to the Videomaker podcast. We'll catch you next time.